Ayan. Baka may lumabas na bagong streaming. Okay. Okay, hello everyone. Kumusta kayo? All right. So welcome to the second episode of building your first end-to-end data portfolio. So again, this is Josh. If you still don't know me, I'm Josh. Ayan. And in this episode, we're going to talk about version control and virtual environment. I dedicated this session para sa mga data professionals, but if you're someone who's using or who's a web developer or maybe other tech roles, you're still free to take on this basic course on Git and GitHub. So yun, dalawa pag-usapan natin kasi. So Git and GitHub as well as virtual environment and kay Python. All right, so I'll just run through some slides. Yan, may mga naglalagay lang ako. Okay, so there we go. So let's start na. We have 25 participants naman na in this live session. Okay, so what are we going to cover in this episode? So, pag-usapan natin yung version control and we are going to use Git and GitHub. This is going to be a practical session. Wala tayong, medyo less tayo on theory, so I want you guys to parang, so it's going to be more practical. So, para magamit nyo kagad siya. Alright? And we will use Git commands, syempre, para magamit natin version control. And we're also going to talk about virtual environments using Python. So ano ba yung virtual environment, tsaka kung bakit natin siya ginagamit. At yan, gagawa tayo ng sarili nating virtual environment. So medyo light lang yung session natin today. I think ito yung magiging pinaka medyo less heavy na episode natin. Okay. So let's talk about the things that you have to be ready on your computer or laptops. As mentioned dun sa last na episode natin, you guys need to have Python since that's what we are going to use. You can also install VS Code. This is optional. You can use your other text editor. Okay lang naman. So wala namang masama doon. You need to install SQL Server 2022 Developer Edition then. Take note lang sa Developer Edition kasi you might not be able to use SSIS kung gagamitin niyo yung Express Edition. So, ayun. So you need Visual Studio at saka SQL Server Data Tools for Visual Studio. Dito kasi natin gagawin yung SSIS. Yun. And PostgreSQL. This is going to be our data warehouse. Actually, pwede natin siya gawing optional if medyo nabibigatan kayo sa setup. Pero I still challenge you to do so na in-install mo si Postgre. Kasi sa installation nyo naman kasi ng SQL Server Data Tools, kasama na dyan yung SQL Server mismo. So, pwede na tayong gumawa ng database from there using SQL Server. And yes, we will need Power BI Desktop for us to install, for us to visualize or create dashboards. But in this session, hindi ko pala nalagay dito yung Git. So, tsaka, tama, hindi ko nalagay yung Git. Pero in this session, ang gagamitin lang natin is si text editor or VS Code, tsaka si Python, tsaka si Git actually. So, di ko pala nalagay yung Git dito. So, kailangan natin si Git din. Alright. Okay, so pag-usapan natin kung ano yung version control at kung bakit natin siya kailangan. Ayan. So meron akong nilagay na meme dito which I think we can agree kahit na hindi pa tayo nakakapag version control system before. Kasi back in college, 'di ba, what we normally do para magkaroon tayo ng versioning sa thesis natin, sa projects natin, gumagawa tayo sa dulo, mayroon siyang V1, minsan V2, tapos mayroon siyang V final na gusto ko ng graduate. So, mga ganung versions, right? Without, parang unconsciously, we are doing that para saan? So, di ba parang ginagawa natin siya to always make sure na meron pa tayong previous copy nung version na ginawa natin para in case kailangan natin siyang balikan, pwede natin tignan, copy-paste para makuha yung ganung update. Kasi ang nangyayari, hindi natin gusto na i-overwrite kaagad yung mga changes sa previous version. So that's the essence or parang that's how we want our documents to be. So we want to control and somehow manage the versions that we or the changes that we do sa bawat document. So version control, it helps us keep track of your changes na ginagawa mo sa bawat files. So what's nice about so, so what we want from version control systems is yung ability na mabalikan natin yung previous version at in case na magkaroon tayo ng mga conflicts like bakit dito ganito yung value niya, ito yung tapos sa kabilang change, ito yung value niya, pwede natin siya ma-fix, right? So we want really control over the things that we do on each change that we have. May nag-message si Mike. Ayan. So yun, that's what we are aiming, or that's the purpose of version control. So it helps us keep track of every change we do on our files. Okay. At okay. So bakit importante naman si version control? So tracking changes in documentation. So lahat ng mga change na ginagawa natin is they're all tracked. So mamaya papakita ko sa inyo yung anong nangyayari kapag may binabago tayong kahit maliit lang na change sa document natin. Tapos, hindi lang natin siya binabago. We have notes to those changes. May mga nilalagay tayong comments. So, those are the commit messages na nilalagay natin kay GitHub, kay Git and GitHub. So, ayun. Yan yung mga isang important aspect of version control. It helps us back up and restore the previous version. So, for example, the current version that we do the current version of the project that we are developing is working. Pero nag-implement tayo ng update, nag-crash na siya, right? So we can easily restore the previous version kung kailangan na man natin. So ayun. And lastly is for us to collaborate with other developers then and other people na nagko-contribute doon sa project na yun. If you know the Data Engineering Pilipinas group, so meron tayong repository that you can that you can clone, tapos pwede din kayo mag-contribute ng mga changes nyo or parang content that you wanna contribute to the site. So pinupush yata siya ni Mike dun sa sa website ng Data Engineering Pilipinas. So you might want to look into that para alam mo yun, ma-explore nyo rin yung collaboration part ng version control system or ng GitHub. Ayan. Okay, so these are some aspects that I want to highlight from the version control, okay, platform. Now, let's talk about Git and GitHub, okay? So yes, magkaibang bagay po or magkaibang system po si Git tsaka si GitHub. So let's try to enumerate the changes or the differences between the two platforms. So si Git, local version control system siya. So you can create your own repository locally sa laptop nyo lang or computer nyo lang. So yung version control nyo would happen in just single device. Ayan. Si GitHub naman, it's web-based. Meron din siyang additional functions for collaboration. So yes, version control siya, pero the functionalities of GitHub focuses more on collaboration, tsaka meron pa siyang additional tools that you can use. Like you can even deploy something from GitHub. Ayan, and get pages. Pwede kayo magawa ng static pages nyo kay GitHub lang. Si Git is a command line tool, pero yes, meron na siyang GUI. Pwede na kayo mag-GUI na lang o mag-interface na lang siya for your version control. Pero mas madali kasi kapag naka-command line lang tayo. So ayan, para isa nang titignan natin. Si GitHub is mainly operated using an interface. So, mga ginagawa natin is usually parang, parang naka-web-based naman and buttons na lang. Although, meron tayong GitHub CLI, which is for the command line interface ni GitHub. Okay? But ang cover na natin is the Git command line tsaka si GitHub na interface lang. So, para mas mag-focusan tayo on how we use both platforms sa pag-manage ng ating project. Alright? And Git is focused on version control, while si GitHub is focused on source hosting or source code hosting. So, ayan. So, usually, gagamit ka natin to for networking din, di ba? So, parang share natin yung mga project natin online and we can just give it to others and let them know that this is our portfolio there. Yeah, so these are some of the major distinctions between Git and GitHub. But don't you worry, because we are just going to use both tools for version control and hosting our project. All right. So, yeah, okay. So I think we can start na sa ating demo. I forgot to ask you guys, are you able to see my screen naman, no? Oh my gosh, ngayon ko lang tinanong yun. Mo, kita naman, tama? Ayan. I'm present si Shell. Thesis final talaga. Tama si Dex. Pero guys, can you confirm if you can see my screen? Oh my gosh, 19 minutes na ako nagsalita. Di ko pa pala tatanong kung nakikita niyo na siya. Ayan, okay. Kita naman. Si Sir JP. Hello, hello, Sir JP. Kumusta ka dyan sa Singapore? Size 10 lang. Okay. So may mga nagtatanong lang. So yes, teach. Kita naman. Okay, good. Kita naman. Alright. Sabi ni LaRusso, pwede din pala Git sa Linux. Yes, pwede siya sa Linux. Cross multi-platform naman si Git. So ayan. Oy, si Miss Jen. Ayan, ayan. Si Miss Jen. Hello, Miss Jen. Hello, Jo Marie. Hello, Dex. Hello, Fatty. And Rainier. Thank you for confirming. Okay, sige. Let's now continue. It's good to know that you guys can see my screen. Sige, mag-share naman ako ng buong desktop ko na. Ayan. So, ano na tayo? Mag-demo na tayo. Ayan. Okay. Kita nyo na ang screen ko. Panoorin ko lang sarili ko. Gumagana. Yan, wait. Okay, gumagana naman. Okay, sige. That's good, that's good. So we are now going to create our own repository. Sorry. Pogi naman yan. Thank you naman. Okay. So yan, gagawa na tayo ng ating Git repository and we are going to connect Git with GitHub. All right. So if you don't have GitHub account yet, feel free to create one. Libreng-libre lang siya. Ayan. So ito yung repository ko. You can yan, visit my repository. Medyo magulo lang siya. So inaayos ko pa kasi yung portfolio ko. But yeah, you are free to create your own GitHub account. Kailangan ng account before we can create our own repositories in GitHub. Okay, and if you haven't installed Git yet, so eto, paki-install na lang po siya. So this is the link to Git. Ayan, so sige, i-comment ko na lang siya. Install Git here. Ayan. So sabi ni Jo Marie, if may recording daw ba ito? Yes, meron siyang recording. Ayan. So there. So you can install Git sa inyong mga laptops para magamit natin yung command lines ni Git, yung mga Git commands. Ayan. So right now we are going to make our own repository. So mag-demo na tayo ng mga commonly used commands in Git. All right. So I will look for PowerShell. Ayan. By the way, I'm using Windows. If Windows po gamit ko. You can use Linux device or MacBook. Most of the commands that we use are just similar lang din naman. Okay. Yun. If you're also using WSL, Windows Subsystem for Linux, okay din siya. Gumagana din naman yun. Ayan. So let's now create our own repository. So I'm on PowerShell. Some of the command line commands that I'm going to use here might be different for other command line or command line interface. or mga, yan, command line. Ang tawag dito, command line. Tama, command line. Okay. I-clear ko muna siya. So, pupunta lang ako sa desktop ko. Desktop. O, di ba? Error kagad. Ano nga bang ano dito? Asan yung desktop kasi? Download. Sige, documents na nga lang. Okay, sige. Pupunta na lang ang documents ko. So, I'm using CD. So that's for change directory and I just go to documents. Ayan. And gagawa din ako ng panibagong folder. So that's mkdir, dir, stands for make directory. Ang gagawin nating folder, let's say, first repo. Ayan. So kapag ginamit natin si dir function kay PowerShell, makikita natin yung lahat ng mga files doon sa current directory natin. In our case, documents. So we can see here that bakit nawawala yung kanina ko? First repo. Ito pala, sorry. So ito yung ginawa nating folder, first repo. Okay? So papasukin natin yung folder. Yan. Change directory ulit tayo to that folder. At nandyan na tayo sa ating first repo na create natin. So from this point, guys, I want you to be comfortable with the command line tools and commands kasi this is beneficial para lang mas magmukha tayong mga programmer, di ba? Yun lang talaga yung purpose ko kung bakit ako gumagamit ng command line tool. Joke lang, syempre. Ayan. Okay, so I already have this folder. I'm inside of that folder. At if titignan natin yung files, wala tayong laman since this is a newly created folder. So, ang gagawin ko here is magsisimula na akong mag-run ng mga git commands. Okay? Again, you should install git first bago kayo mag-run ng mga git commands. So, kapag nagkaroon kayo ng error dito sa git, ayan, kapag hindi nyo ito nakita, definitely your Git might not be installed in your laptops pa. So you might want to look into that. So again, install Git bago kayo run ng mga Git commands. So clear ko yung screen ko. Ayan. Okay, so the first command that I want to show you guys is what we call the git init command. All right. Yung init stands for initialize. This means that we are going to create a new repository on Git. All right. But I will add dot here because I want to create a repository inside this directory na ginawa ko. So, puntahan natin siya. First. Hindi pala siya dito. So, let's go to Josh Documents na isa. And first repo. Ayan. So yan, gagawa tayo ng repository inside this folder. Because if we didn't do it, ang mangyayari is mag-create pa siya ng additional folder inside this folder. So I don't want that. Alright? So if I run this, makikita natin that the repository has been created in this documents, in this folder. Ayan. So mapapansin nyo, kapag pinuntahan natin siya, mayroon na tayong parang naka-hide na folder which is called .git. At pwede natin siya pasukin, makikita niyo yung mga folders related to Git. Although we are not going to dwell on these files. We're just going to use the Git commands that we have. Okay? All right. So, what else? So, let's try opening Visual Studio Code or VS Code para mas ma-visualize natin yung nangyayari when we do some things here. Okay? So, in PowerShell, you can run code tapos dot para mag-open yung Visual Studio Code nyo on that same directory. So, ayan. Or pwede naman siya i-open din. Manually, pwede naman yun. So, trust natin siya since ako naman yung author niyan. Ayan. So, there we go. Wala pa rin tayong files, but we're gonna be making some files. At if it's your first time on VS Code, you would see your file director, your file explorer here. May mga konting commands lang. Pero I want you guys to focus on this area, source control. Later on, kapag gumawa na tayo ng mga files, may mga mag-highlight dito sa ating files. Tsaka dito sa source control section. Okay? Okay, so from here, I will open a terminal. So see, VS Code has its built-in terminal. So para ma-open natin siya, shortcut na lang ako. Control tilde. Ayan. So meron tayong terminal within VS Code. Okay? So as you can see, meron tayong PowerShell here. I want you guys to look to also take note of this kasi later on I'll show you something then. You can even open kasi other terminal like command prompt, and you also have git bash, which is yung kasamang command line interface ni Git. All right? For now, we're just using PowerShell. I want to highlight that kasi later on, I'll be talking about how we can activate environments in virtual environments in Python. Okay, sige, lakyan ko muna siya. Ay, sige, okay na pala to. So, gagawa tayo ng file. Let's call this readme file. So, new item tayo. So, readme.md. So, these are the parang one of the common files that you would see from a GitHub repository. So, gagawin natin siya. Ayan. At nung nag-create ako ng bagong file, anong nangyari sa left side natin? Siyempre, na-add yung file na create natin. Pero nag-highlight siya ng U. Ibig sabihin yan, kapag hinover nyo yung mouse nyo doon, yung cursor nyo sa file na yon, it says that it's untracked. Meaning, Git is not monitoring all of the changes that we do on this file. Okay? At kung titignan natin tong source control section, meron tayo ditong panel for changes. Okay? This shows us all of the change that we do on this directory. Again, naka-U siya kasi hindi pa siya tinatrack ni Git. So, kahit anong gawin natin changes dito, hindi natin siya minomonitor. Alright? So, let's open this file. And I'll say something like, hello, everyone. At isa-save ko siya. Ayan. Alright, so still the same. Wala pa rin naman nangyari. Again, wala tayong tinatrack pa na changes dito kasi hindi pa natin dinadagdag or ina-add itong file na to sa mga files na minomonitor or tinatrack ni Git. So, how do we add this file para ma-monitor natin yung mga changes dito? So, this is gonna be the second command that I want to show you guys. So, clear ko muna siya. And we have the command called git add. And we can specify the file name, readme. Or pwede rin namang lahat na lang. And to do that, just add the dot here. Para lahat ng mga files na meron tayo right now will be added sa ating Git repository. Okay? Pero sige, let's specify na natin para masaya. Ayan. If I press enter, yung U natin dito naging A. At kung napansin nyo, yung color din niya medyo nag-iba, medyo nag-lie down siya ng konti. And if we look at the source control section, yung readme file, wala na siya sa change, but it was now under stage changes. So when we say staged na yung file, ibig sabihin nun, Git is now monitoring the changes that happen to that file. All right. So here we can see that the readme file has been staged for changes. So whatever we do here will now be monitored by Git. So that's the second command I want you to remember. This is what you would normally call every now and then. Yung init, that's just the first command that you will run for a project, pero that's just it. Di mo na siya gagawin ulit later on unless you create another repository. But here, gagamitin siya almost all the time. Okay. So now, the third command that I want you to experience and what I want to demo is yung parang usually nating ginagawa. So that's git commit. Ayan. Tama-tama. Valentine's Day. Ayan. So git commit naman is us committing the changes that we do here um, on our repository. So yes, nag-a-add na tayo ng mga changes at mini-monitor natin tong change na to, but they're still not yet recorded as an actual change dun sa file. So what do I mean by that? So remember, Git is monitoring the changes that we do on the repository. At this is what we, or how we try to create a version of this repository. So right now, I am going to add a version that has the file readme doon sa ating repository. Para later on, I can get back to this version in case na kailanganin ko. Ayan. So lahat ng mga ginawa kong changes right now will now be recorded as, or will now be committed to this repository. And we have a parameter here. So every time na may makikita kayong hyphen, or minsan double hyphen siya, but yeah, pag may nakitang ganyang hyphen tapos initial or isang word, that means that you are passing on a parameter to that command. So here is the parameter for the commit message that we are going to add. Commit message is our parang notes sa ating commit na to. So for example, para lang ma-remind ako kung anong ginawa ko sa commit na to, yun ang ilalagay ko dito. So I added readme.md file. Yan. Or pwedeng kanya na lang, added readme.md file. Or kahit readme na lang, ayan. So whatever is easy for you to digest, okay lang din naman yan. Alright? So if I press enter, nawala na yung green, at wala na ring file dito. So meaning to say that the changes that we did on the readme.file have been pushed to the repository as an actual commit or changes that we do on this project. So another command that I want to show you guys is git log lang para makita natin yung lahat ng commit history na meron tayo dito. So lahat ng mga pinagagawa natin dito is makikita natin. Ayan. So there. So we can see that we only have a single commit here in this repository. At nilagay ko lang si readme file natin. Okay, so those are the first 4 commands that I want you to take note of. Sige, maybe I would go back to the live session natin. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Ayan. Okay, si Arma nag-download na ng Git. Si 𝗕𝗂𝗶-𝗶. Hello, 𝗕𝗂𝗶-𝗶. Yan, may mga katanungan pa kayo before I continue. Ayan. So, nakapag-download na si Arma ng Git for Windows. Hello, Ralph. Ayan. Okay, I think you guys are good. Wala namang mga katanungan. Sige, let's continue. But if you have any questions, feel free to post them here on the comments para mamaya babalikan natin siya. Okay? Okay, saan na ba ako? Alright, so here, right now we've already discussed git init for us to initialize our repository or create our own repository. We've also discussed git add para ma-stage natin yung ating file. We also added git commit para ma-push natin to or parang ma-commit natin tong change na to. So, ayan. And git log para makita natin yung history ng ating commits. Okay? So now, siguro just to add na lang or some thoughts about commit. Kasi normally what we do is we are adding a lot of changes. So kailan natin siya kino-commit? Siguro kapag natapos yun na yung ginagawa nyo. For example, if you are defining a function in Python, at natapos nyo yun. So that's gonna be the time when you have to commit the change. So added this function, ayun, and commit nyo na siya. Or if you are trying to work on a module, ayan, pwede rin naman din. But siguro it's enough for you to parang ensure that lahat ng mga changes natin na ginagawa is enough para maintindihan natin kung ano ba yung mga nilalagay, pinagko-commit natin dito sa repository natin. So, mahirap kasing kapag gumawa ka ng isang repository, you added a lot of files, you made a lot of changes, anong ilalagay mong commit, commit message doon. So, parang, personally, gagawin ko na parang git added so many things. Mga ganun na lang. So, git commit, added so many things. So, mga ganyan na lang gagawin natin, di ba? So, yan. We just want our commit messages to be understandable, as well as parang yung every commit natin should be enough para sa specific na change that we want to push to this repository or parang officialize dito sa ating repository. All right? So, yon. Okay. So, what else can we do here? So, right now, I'm gonna be pushing this to our GitHub repository. Actually, wala pang GitHub repository, but I'll show that to you as well. Okay? So, those are just the first four commands that I want to show you. Right now, we will start integrating this Git repository with our GitHub repository. Ano sinasabi nito ni Andre? Ayan, sa bot ni may sinabi. May mga may nilagay siyang comment. So that's your cheat sheet for now. Okay? So balik naman tayo kay GitHub. Ayan, kay GitHub naman tayo. So kitang-kita natin yung repository ni Sir JP dito. Ayan. Okay, so gagawa tayo ng GitHub repository. Again, iba yung repository natin kay Git, iba rin yung repository natin kay GitHub. But we can connect those repositories. Alright? So gawin natin siya. So let's create a new repository. Let's call this my first repo. Ayan. So makikita naman natin that may mga checks tayong ginagawa if the repository exists or not. We can also add a repository description here. So this is my first repo for demo purposes. Ayan. We can even choose if it's a public or a private repository. Pero right now, guys, I want you to make your repositories public. Unless medyo personal project ang ginagawa nyo, okay lang din naman. You can keep it private. Okay? So, I won't initialize readme file kasi meron na tayong readme file dito. Ito yung gagamitin natin. And the rest, let's leave them blank. Itong git ignore, we'll also talk about this later on when we get into virtual environments. Okay? So the rest are good. So let's create this repository. Ayan. So yeah, that's good. And if it's your first time, or the first time that you create this repository, may makikita na kayo ditong guides or commands na pwede natin gamitin to connect the two repositories. But the first thing that we need to do is to connect Git, not the repository, but Git on our, to register SSH keys in our laptop or device, papunta kay GitHub. So what this do is, using this key, we are authorized to somehow, quote unquote, sign in to our account on GitHub para makapag-update tayo ng mga repositories natin dito. So that's the essence of using SSH key in Git and GitHub. So paano natin siya gagawin? So we have here a reference on GitHub docs natin. So share ko din siya para you guys can look into this. Ayan. So there's a lot of instructions here for us to follow para ma-pair or connect natin si Git and Git, yung device natin sa GitHub. All right. What's nice about this is we don't have to manually log in to GitHub every time na may ipopush tayong changes. At ayun, wala na tayong ganung manual way of logging in. So this is parang us registering this device to GitHub para every time that we are pushing changes to GitHub, recognized tayo or nakikilala tayo. Ganun. Okay? So now we are here. So we have to open Git Bash. So ito yung mga steps na gagawin natin. Generate a new SSH key. So ito yung key na i-register natin kay GitHub. So let's open Git Bash, but you can also open your PowerShell, your PowerShell or command line. Pwede rin naman yan. Pero sige, gamitin natin si Git Bash na lang kasi mamaya magkakaroon pa tayong problem dyan eh. Okay, para masundin natin instructions. Huwag tayong bida-bida. Ayan. Okay, so Git Bash is like this. Parang may color siya dito and all that. So mag-run lang tayo ng mga commands. So ayan. So first command that we will write is ito, ipe-paste lang natin siya. Or copy lang natin siya and ipe-paste lang natin kay Git Bash. Okay, paste natin siya here. And the email address should be the email address that you have on GitHub. So this is my email. Ayan. So enter the file in which to save the key. So magsa-save daw tayo ng bagong key. Save natin yung file na to doon sa, or yung key na to sa isang directory. So right now it's telling me that this is the directory kung saan siya masasave. So let's leave it as default na lang. Okay? Right now I already have an existing SSH key, pero I can just simply overwrite that naman. Yon. Okay? And enter passphrase. So if every time that you are pushing changes to GitHub, you can add your passphrase. Pero right now, just to make it easy, I won't add any passphrase na lang or password para mabilis lang siya. Okay, enter ko lang din siya and there you go. May generate na tayo parang tinatawag nating fingerprint. Ayan. So this is going to be parang the key that we are going to push to GitHub. But not this one. Okay. Makikita natin siya. So palitan ko lang siya para makita pa rin natin documentation natin. So i-clear natin yung screen. There we go. So, okay na tayo sa step number 1, step number 2, and step number 3 is just us being prompted with the password. Again, we didn't add any password. Next naman is here, adding your SSH key to the SSH agent. So we have just to follow these steps. So for Windows, ito yung gagawin natin. So we need to use PowerShell. But for other devices like Mac or Linux, you can just simply switch here para makita niyo yung Linux or Mac-based na commands that you can follow. But since I'm using Windows, ayan siya. So, balikan natin si PowerShell. But this time around, I'll close this, pero I'll open it as an administrator. Ayan. Kasi medyo may mga nangyayari kapag hindi siya naka-admin hindi siya naka-open as admin. Okay? So, kapag nagkaroon kayo ng ganung problem with PowerShell, that's how you would do it. Just open it as an admin. Okay, saan na tayo? Ito pala tayo. Okay. So here we are going to start some services. So unahin natin to. Copy lang and paste lang din natin. Oops, ayaw ma-paste. Ay, right click. Ayaw din. Copy and paste. There. So wala lang tayo na-expect na output. So that should be good. And this one as well. Right click. Ayaw. Yan. There you go. So wala na siyang output, so it should be good. So there. In a terminal without elevated permissions, add your SSH key to the SSH agent. If you created your key with a different name, yan, okay. So here, copy lang din natin to para ma-add na yung ating SSH sa SSH agent. So here, ayaw talaga na. Copy natin siya. Sorry. Ulit. Copy. paste. But here, I'll just change the U here with my name. Since ito yung original directory kung saan natin sinave yung ating SSH key na generate kanina. Alright? So if you look back to the previous step dito sa section na to, di ba nag-generate tayo dito? At niroute tayo sa specific directory kung saan natin sinave yung key natin. And I can even go to that page. Ayan siya. So ito yung path na to. Oops. Ay, sorry. Ayan. So palitan ko lang to ng Josh. At tanggalin ko lang tong file. Ayan. So ito yung mga SH natin. Ito yung kaninang create lang natin. So, ayan. Ito yung kinukuha natin or ina-add natin kay ito yung ina-add natin right now. So if we run this, ayan. Identity added na siya. Okay? So yan, these steps are just are simple. So feel free to follow along na lang dito para you can do it correctly. Ayan. So there. So here, generating a new SH key for a hardware security is not really applicable for Windows users. But if you're using Linux or Mac, you might want to do this as well. Ayan. So, okay na tayo kay SSH key na connect na i-register natin siya, na create na natin siya. Right now, the next step is for us to connect or add the SSH key to GitHub. Okay? So, ito na tayo. Ito yung next step natin. And right now, ito yung gagawin natin. So, i-copy natin yung public key, yung nandito sa file na to. Lakyan ko lang siya. Etong ginawa nating SSH, meron kasi siyang yung pinaka-key mismo. So, kukunin natin yung laman nito at i-register natin kay GitHub. Pero follow na natin tong steps ito para di natin buksan tong file. Okay? So, since I'm using Windows PowerShell, this is what I will do. Okay? Yan, copy ko siya, yung command. Tsaka, paste ko siya dito. And run it. Okay. So what this command is doing, it's just copying the content of this file papunta dito sa clipboard natin. So kapag pinaste ko to, nandun siya sa clip, may lalabas tayo. Sige. Pakita ko siya. Ay, di gumana. Ay, sorry, PowerShell pala. Sorry. Ayan, PowerShell pala tayo. Sorry, nasa GitHub pala ako kanina. Sige, ulitin na. Git command pa, git bash pala gamit ko kanina. Ayan. So copy ko lang ulit siya and paste. And there we go. Kung ipapaste ko siya sa notepad, ito yung kalalabasan niya. So, ito yung pinakalaman nung publisher file na meron tayo dito. So, this is what we are going to register kay GitHub para ma-authenticate yung mga changes na ginagawa natin from our local machine at ipopush natin yung change na yun to GitHub. Okay? So, nakopy natin siya. What's next? So, may mga steps tayo dito. So, medyo kabisado ko naman tong steps na to. So, I'll just show you. So, let's go to our GitHub profile. Sa taas, sa icon nyo, click nyo lang yan. And look for settings. Ayan. On the left side, just look for SSH and GPG keys. At dito tayo sa SSH keys. Ayan. Mag-a-add lang tayo ng bago. So, click lang natin itong new SSH key. Here, I'll paste this. Tapos, sa title, let's call this Josh Dev PC na lang para mabilis. Okay? So, there. So, ito yung magiging format na dapat yung i-paste sa GitHub profiles nyo para ma-connect nyo yung device nyo with your GitHub profile. So, if we click on Add SSH Key, I'm done. So, na-i-add na natin siya. Okay. So, that was some steps that we have to do para ma-connect natin yung device natin to GitHub. So, it's just just one-time setup. So, medyo mahaba, but it's gonna help you out on making your coding experience easier. Kasi, madali na tayo makakapag-push and commit ng mga changes natin from Git papuntang GitHub. Sige, any questions muna? Ayan. Do you guys have any questions? Yes, tama sinabi ni Botany. It is required na dapat yung private key files natin, dapat hindi siya accessible ng kung sino-sino man. Ayan. Kasi pag it's a sensitive information. So that's why you have to be careful. So don't you worry. I'll delete naman itong mga files na to para safe tayo. Ayan. Need ba ng admin access sa Git? Si Git kasi it's following tawag dito. Unix like yung command line na yun. So I think there is sudo na pwede mong gamitin. I'm not sure kung applicable sudo, pero I am not sure. I don't think na kailangan mo pa ng admin access doon. So, yun. May taga-ano dito. Okay, sige. Other questions? Teka, post ko lang ito. Show. Ayan. Sige, we can now continue with our next items. So, balik tayo kay ating sa VS Code. So, napakita na natin kung paano ma-connect yung ating device kay GitHub, right? So, this time around, I will push this repository to my GitHub repository. Ayan. So, balikan ko yung GitHub repository ko kanina. Nasaan na yun? First. Ito. Ayan. So, we just have to follow these steps that we have. Okay? So, first is, we need to somehow create a connection between this GitHub repository tsaka sa ating Git repository. Ayan. So, again, they're different entities. So, we have to create our connection muna with between these two repositories. So, again, copy lang natin to. Yan. Git remote add origin. There you go. So, wala naman tayong expect na output. So, it should be good naman na. Alright? So, that's the purpose of Git remote add origin. So, we are creating a link or a connection between this repository on GitHub and our repository on Git. Okay? Next is we are going to create a branch. So, this is our main branch. Ayan. So, I'll talk more about this later on. Yan. So, right now, we have a main branch. So, this main branch is parang pinaka-primary na branch natin. So, every time that people go to this repository, this is the branch that we are working on. Kasi we can have several branches on our repository. So, more on that later. Okay? And this time around, we are going to push our repository, our changes to GitHub. Yan. So, itong push command will now submit these changes that we have on our local device papuntang GitHub. So, let's run this. Ayan. I think it's all good. So, there. Now, we were able to push our changes. So, nakita natin that nagtatapos naman siya without any errors. So, ayan. So, just to prove to you that it worked, ayan. Refresh natin to. Ayan. So, meron na tayong file sa ating GitHub repository. So, we were able to push our file, readme file, papuntang GitHub repository natin. So, those are the main commands, main Git commands that you guys would most likely use every now and every time. So, from the first 4 commands kanina, git init, git commit, git add, git log, we have added git remote. So, yung git remote, para magkaroon tayo ng connection dun sa repository na yon sa GitHub. And git branch is for us to create a branch. We are also using this to switch branches then. And git push is for us to push our changes kay Git and GitHub. Okay? So, any questions before I continue? Okay, may tanong dito si 𝗃𝗂𝗍, may Discord daw ba tayo nito? We have a Discord on Data Engineering Pilipinas. Mamaya meron tayong activity na i-share ko sa inyo at gagamitin natin yung Discord na yon. Okay? Pero sige, let me get the repository na yun para you guys can join already. Invite people, copy natin, at i-share ko siya dito. Ayan. So this is Data Engineering Pilipinas Discord server. Feel free to join kasi sa end ng ating session today, I'll be sharing some activities that you will have to do. Okay? May gagawin po kayo after this, ha? Ayan. Okay. That's good. We're almost done on Git. Sige, close ko na to. Tsaka ito. Ayan. Okay, so right now, let's do some things muna. Okay? Sige, clear ko tong screen ko. And I'm gonna make a file here. So new item. Let's call this test.py. Tapos, yung file na to, I will tawag dito. I will add something. So print hello madlang people. Mabuhay. Ayan. So, again, gagawin na natin, we need to push this to our GitHub repository. So git add, pero instead of adding the file name, ilalagay ko na yung dot para ma-add ko din yung changes. Sige, let me show you something else then para masaya. So, sorry. This is my first repository. So I'm doing some parang notations kay Markdown para magkaroon tayo ng format. So this is for heading 1 or the title of the file. Okay? So this is my second push. Yan. So sa left side, I mean, may ginawa akong mga changes dito kay readme.md file. It's already been added sa ating staging files. Pero as you can see, may nakikita kayong M dito at naka-highlight siya in yellow. This means that we did some changes on this file, right? And similarly kanina, si test.py, since bagong file lang siya, naka-green pa din siya at it's still unstaged or untracked kasi hindi pa natin siya nai-stage sa change natin. Okay? So we are going to use git add tapos dot para masabi natin kay Git na I want to monitor the changes to these files. Ayan. Or I want to parang register these changes that I did on these files. Okay? So kapag press enter ko yan, yung source control section natin from changes, naging stage changes na siya. So ito yung mga ready natin na i-commit kay Git repository natin. Okay? So ayan, kapag ka-inopen nyo siya kay VS Code, naka-highlight dito yung mga bagong additions natin. At here, meron din tayo naka-highlight na parang red for removals. Okay, so it's not really important for you to look through these as long as you know what changes you did. But yeah. So let's push this. Or let's commit muna. Git commit m I added test.py and made some changes. All right. Afterwards, let's push this. So there you go. Na-push natin yung changes natin. And if we look at our repository, yan, nandito na yung test.py file natin. At yung readme file natin, mayroon na tayong heading 1 or header 1 and header 2 na nilagay natin kanina lang. Okay, so right now, yeah, so I think that should be good. So let's do something else here. Okay, let's try kung ano kaya mangyayari kapag may ginawa tayong changes dito kay Git naman. Ay, kay GitHub, sorry. So, let's open test.py. Edit natin siya. So, right now, I'm editing the file directly on GitHub. Okay? Maglalagay lang ako ng, andito, mini miss you. Okay. Ayan. So, yan, naglagay lang ako ng ganyan. Okay? And I'll commit the changes. So, updated test.py. Tapos, i-commit natin siya. Okay. So, now, question is, paano natin makukuha yung changes sa GitHub papunta naman kay Git? So, di ba, meron tayong git push command para ma-push natin yung changes from Git papuntang GitHub. Paano kaya kapag ang gusto natin magawa is changes from GitHub papunta kay Git? Okay. So, you might have guessed it. So, baliktrin natin si push. Gawin natin siyang pull. Alright? Sige, let's try git pull. And there you go. Ayan. So, nakita natin real time na nag-update na natin yung ating test.py file. So, na-add na natin si mini miss you. Okay? Hide ko nga to. Yan. So, nakita natin na kuha natin changes na yon. And if we look at the git log, lakihan ko lang siya. Ayan. So, ito yung pinakauna nating commit. Ito yung pangalawang commit natin. Tapos, ito yung pangatlong commit. Pero as you can see, yung author ng commit na to is someone else. I mean, it's still me, but iba yung format ng convention ng name natin dito. It's now ganitong format. Kasi galing siya kay GitHub. So, ito yung mga changes ginawa natin kay GitHub. Okay? At naglagay siya ng panibagong commit message dito or ng additional commit which is yung nag-update tayo or nag-pull tayo ng changes from GitHub naman. So, there we go. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So that's those are the additional commands that we can also work out, that we can also use every time. So we use git pull command para ma-make sure natin that we are getting the updates from GitHub. And we are using git push command naman para ma-push natin yung changes na ginawa natin papuntang repository natin. Okay? So, okay, let's pause for a while and let me know if you guys have any questions. Okay, mukhang tahimik naman kayo. Okay, that's good. Or delay lang yata. Medyo delay nga lang. Okay, sige. But let me know if you guys have any questions. So, wala rin naman ditong questions. Ayan. Okay, sige. Let's now continue. Okay, let me do something else. One last thing before I continue to the next topic that we have. Okay. So, let's try. Ano ba? Dito, let's try to change this. So, hello madlang people, mabuhay. Gawin natin siyang print hello world. Okay. Tapos, i-commit natin to. Clear ko muna siya. Ay, sorry. Git add this, then git commit revert. Ay, okay na. Sige. Yan. Tapos, dito naman kay GitHub natin. Na-stuck sa SSH connection si Botany. Sige, later, don't worry, Botany, recorded naman to. So, I'll share with you the link to this recording afterwards. Okay? So, dito lalagyan natin siya ng print hello world, pero caps lock. Oops. Commit change natin siya. So naglagay ako or nag-commit ako ng change dito sa Git repository natin. At nag-commit ako ng change sa GitHub repository natin. So dalawang ibang commit ang ginawa natin. Okay, ano kaya mangyayari kapag ginamit ko si git pull command? Let's try that. There you go. So anong nangyari? Medyo dumami yung natin. Um, may mga lumabas sa something. Sige, check natin yung logs, yung output ng git pull. Okay? So nakuha naman natin yung mga files at ayun, may mga lumabas ditong merge conflict. Okay? In test.py. So when we say merge conflict, si Git kasi ang ginagawa niya is mini-merge niya yung mga same files, yung mga changes sa iisang file. Okay? Pero there are times na kapag sabay yung may dalawang magkaibang commit, yung ginawa sa magkaibang repository, yung local repository natin, which is yung Git natin, eto, tsaka yung GitHub repository, yung remote. Tapos kapag kinuha natin yung changes na yon, so there will be some merge conflict if may magkaibang change na ginawa. Kagaya ng ginawa natin dito. Sa original file natin, ang nilagay lang natin is yung hello world. But in our repository, tatlo siya. Yan. So, mag-conflict talaga siya, di ba? Kasi Git can't identify kung ano ba dapat yung i-keep natin. So, if you open, or in VS Code, nakikita natin na mayroon siyang exclamation point. It says that conflict both modified. So, if we open this, may mga naka-highlight ngayon siya. So, baba ko lang ito. Yan. So, ito yung current change natin, which is the change that we did here on this repository, local repository natin. At ito naman yung ating incoming change. Incoming kasi kinukuha natin yung changes from GitHub. So, may difference talaga sila, right? So, in VS Code, it's nice that we already have these parang links para kung ano man yung gagawin natin. So, we have accept current change. Kapag in-accept natin yung current change, ito lang yung ma-retain na to, yung ginawa natin change sa repository natin. Ito yung current change. Ayan. If we accept incoming change, ito yung kukunin natin. Pero if we accept both changes, parang i-combine siya. Tapos, we can also compare changes. So, let's try siguro compare changes tayo. Let's see. Ayan. So, if we compare these changes, kapag ka-clinic nyo siya, pwede natin i-copy yung change line dito sa, sa file natin. So, let's try this one. Okay, so more on pala siya. Sorry. More on comparison na talaga ng mga changes. But let's open this one again and siguro let's try accepting both na lang. Alright? So, what's gonna happen if we accepted both? Ayan. Nag-paste na yung hello, yung mga in-enter natin sa previous file. Ito, papunta dito. So, isang file na siya. So, I mean, na-merge na natin yung natin, yung additions natin sa GitHub repository. So, we're not done yet. Kailangan natin i-resolve yung merge na ginawa natin. So, here, we have a button in VS Code that says resolve in merge editor. So, ayun, natanggap na natin siya, na in-accept natin yung current, yung incoming. So, ganitong format niya, current plus incoming. Or pwede pa natin siya baguhin. So, we can remove the current or remove the incoming, whichever we would like to do. And we can just complete the merge of the files. Okay? Ayan. So, right now, nag-M na siya. Ibig sabihin, mayroon tayong mga modifications na ginawa na kailangan natin i-commit. So, here, clear ko siya. I-git add ulit natin. And i-git commit. Merged conflicts. Yan. And we can just push this. There you have it. let's look at our repository at ayan na siya. So naka-merge na ang ating changes. Ang ating test.py file. Okay. So those are the things that I want to highlight, or the typical commands that I personally use as a data professional. So those are just parang simple commands pa lang, actually. Pero that's just the normal steps or the normal commands that I'm using, at least on my projects. Kasi sa ano namin, sa company namin, we're not allowed to use GitHub repository. Yeah. Okay, so do we have any questions? Sige. Sige, I'll share din pala yung link to setting up SSH. I know, medyo mabigat yung mga steps na yun. Ayan. So you can look into that link para you guys can review the steps. So yung ginawa ko naman dun sa SSH setup naman is, or pag-generate ng SSH is, based lang din ako dun sa documentation. So, ayan. Feel free to review the documentation para straightforward naman steps. So, feel free to browse through it. Okay? All right, good. So, let me know if you have any questions. Ayan. Kumusta naman so far? May mga na-confuse ba or what? Ay, may kape pa pala ako. All right. So, okay. So, I think we should be good. Yan. So, let me go back to my slides. Okay, so that's Git and GitHub in a nutshell. So those are the typical things that I do on my project. Siguro next, don't worry guys kasi next session, gagamitin pa rin natin si Git and GitHub. Yon. So these are the commonly used Git commands. So ito yung mga diniscuss natin kanina. So refresh lang tayo. Git init is what we use to create our Git repository. I use dot para ma-create natin siya sa current directory. Kasi kapag hindi siya ginawa, magagawa siya ng repository na bago. I mean, ng folder inside the same directory. Okay? I use add to stage all changes. So, kapag may ginagawa kayong change sa files, always add or always run git add command. Alright? If you are ready to commit your changes, so just run git commit with your commit message. Ayan yung format niya. Sorry. Meron pala akong discuss dito. Sige, balikan ko tong git rm tsaka git clone. But git push is what we do to push our changes to the GitHub repository. At yung git pull naman is the other way around. We are getting the changes from GitHub papuntang Git. Papuntang Git. Ayan. So, let's clear this out. Gagawa ako ng isang file. Kunwari ito ay credentials.json. Ayan. So, kunwari, na-aksidente lang tayong ginawa. Diba? Na-push ko sa GitHub yung ating username and password. So, kunwari, username natin is user. Tapos ang ating password ay password. Yan. So, i-add natin siya. Yan. Tapos, i-commit na natin siya. Added credentials. Diba? Napaka bad practice to. Ayan. But let's see how we can get rid of this. And let's push this to our GitHub repository. There you go. Alright. So, refresh tayo. Ay, sorry. Cancel. Hindi yan ang dapat i-refresh natin. Ito. Sorry, may nagtanong pala. Sorry. Medyo confused pa si Jo Marie. Okay lang yan. So, paulit-ulitin mo yung, yung search, yung recording para you can get the hang of it. So, ang mahirap kasi sa setup natin ngayon sa Git is yung pagko-connect natin kay Git, yung device natin, SSH, tsaka kay um, GitHub. So that's one of the hardest setup na gagawin niyo siguro sa talan ng buhay niyo sa GitHub, sa paggamit ng GitHub, what I mean. Okay? Pero after that, magiging madali na lang siya kasi mga command line na lang ipapaandar natin. So lagi siyang git add, git commit, git push. So ganun lagi siya tumatakbo. So yun, once na ma-setup niyo na yung sa SSH niyo, okay na yun. Or maybe you don't, hindi, sige, kailangan pa rin para mai-public nga pala natin, para yun nga pala purpose natin. So, ayan. Yung slides na ginamit ko, I can share that with you as well. I-share ko yung repository na gagamitin ko dito sa sa, ano, sa, itong demo na to. Ayan. Share ko to sa inyo. Okay, so, ayan. So, nakita natin na push natin yung credentials sa JSON natin. And this is really what we don't want to do. Kasi, what if nag-push kayo ng credit card information? So, that's gonna be, that's gonna make you parang feel so nervous na parang mawawala, katapusan na ng mundo, ganun. So, ayan, we don't want to push any sensitive data to our GitHub repository. Okay? So, let me show you one thing that we can do. Let's say, accidentally, na-push natin itong credentials.json. Let's call on git-rm, git-rm command. So, this removes yung ating credentials.json file. Okay? Nire-remove siya sa directory, like delete at all, pero we are also removing it from our GitHub repository. So let me show that to you. The credentials, ayan. So na-delete natin yung file natin. Let's also push this change that we did. Okay. Okay, sorry. Let me add ulit. Kasi nag-remove ako ng file. So dapat mag-add ulit muna ako. Ayan. So git push ko ulit siya. Ay, sorry. Ulit. Pagka-add, commit natin siya. Hindi ko pala siya kinamit. Remove credentials. Yan. Tapos git push tayo. There you go. Na-push na natin siya. And if we look at the readme credentials.json file natin, wala na siya dito. Okay. So that's how we remove our accidentally pushed files sa ating repository. So there are other ways that we can do. I'll show you how to use git ignore then. Mamaya when we get into the virtual environment section. Okay? One last command that I want to show you guys is the git clone command. So let me open my folder here. Sige, desktop na lang, documents na lang din. Documents. And gawa ako dito ng second repo. Let's say that I want to get a copy of this repository. Normally, what you would do is you will download all of these files. Of course, we don't want to do that. But what we can do is to clone the repository. So, copy natin itong code. Ayan, meron tayong clone dito. So, just use SSH since nakapag-register na tayo ng SSH. So, copy niya atin ito. Yan. So, there you go. At ito yung second repository natin. Open tayo ng terminal. Okay, so right now, nakay second repo ako na folder. So, I can just simply call on git clone. ipe-paste ko yung link, tapos I'll add dot. This way, we can clone the repository inside of this folder. Ayan. So, nagko-clone na siya and there you have it. So, meron na tayong clone ng ating repository. So, there we go. Okay? So, yun. Gagamitin nyo rin siya if you want to copy a repository para gumawa kayo ng sariling change. It's also helpful if you want to contribute to a repository. In case kailangan, may gusto kayong i-add na change, ayun, you can do that as well. Yeah. I'm not gonna talk about parang pull request tsaka yun, since medyo mahaba yung discussion na. But for now, I want you guys to always maintain your current repository. Okay? So that ends our discussion on the commonly used Git commands. So again, dinagdag lang natin si rm file tsaka si clone. But I'll talk more about how we can securely or how we can avoid, parang pushing sensitive documents sa ating repository. Okay? So right now, let's talk about virtual environments. Sorry. Before we continue pala, any questions that you guys may have? Ayarn. Instead of PowerShell, sorry. So, slides, again, yung slides i-share ko siya at the end of the session. So, instead of PowerShell, ano pa po pwedeng gamitin? If you're using Windows, dalawa yung kasi dyan, yung command line dyan, yung command line interface dyan. Yung PowerShell, tsaka yung command line mismo. Itong command prompt. Yan. Pwede nyo siyang gamitin din. Okay lang din naman. Pero, yun. For the Git commands yun, pwede naman din siya. Yan. Ay, pwede nga ba? Try ko nga. Pwede naman din. Okay. Katiilang ko . So, okay. Sabi ni 𝗘𝗂𝗂𝗁, Git bash much better. Well, yes. Kasi kapag nag-download kayo ng Git, na-install nyo siya, you already have Git na command line. May built-in na si . So, yes, may built-in kasi na terminal si VS Code. Kaya medyo favorite ko din siya. But again, it's not required for you to use it. You can use other text editor. Okay, sa VS Code lang po ba gagawin yung pag-push and pull ng files? Paano po kapag kunwari Sublime yung text? Hindi ako masyadong familiar kay Sublime. Pero yung mga ginawa kong command lines kanina, pwede siya sa labas. So, eto, git bash. Ayan. When you install Git sa inyong mga devices, meron siyang kasama na git bash. So, ito yung git bash natin. So, you can run git commands here. And actually, if you install Git sa inyong laptop or device, pwede naman kayo din mag-run sa kahit anong command line na meron kayo. Sa akin, meron ako ditong PowerShell, meron ako ditong command prompt. So, lahat ng yan, recognize nila yung Git commands. Ayan. So, meron siyang Git. Ito din, meron din siyang Git. So, yun. I'm not sure kung si Sublime kasi merong terminal. But yun. Pwede naman kayong gumamit nitong command line na lang. Itong git bash para, para sama-sama na sila. Yes, yun din kasi alam ko kay Sublime . Talagang parang lang siya, parang text editor lang talaga siya. Although may additional capabilities naman siya. So, yun. Okay. Other questions? Thank you for raising those questions. So again, ito ang ginagawa ko right now here sa command line dito sa VS Code. It's just PowerShell. Ayan. Ibig sabihin niya, pwede ko siyang gawin sa labas. Ayan. Integrated lang kasi siya dito, kaya para isahan na lang siya. Yan, sabi ni 𝗘𝗂𝗂𝗁, pag Mac user daw, mas okay daw gamitin sa terminal. Yes, so practicing kayo magamit ng terminal, guys, kasi it's really helpful if you wanna do some quick things. So, ayun. Tsaka sabi ko nga kanina, if you wanna if you wanna look like a good hacker or a good programmer, gamit kayo command line. Ayan. Tsaka itong ginagawa ko madalas kapagka ano, gusto kong i-encourage sarili ko sa command prompt. Ay, sorry, CLS pala yun. Ayan, sa command prompt ginagawa ko nung ganito. Tapos list dear, yan. Ay, ano ba yun? Dear dash S. Ayan. Ayan, parang gusto ko lang ma-boost yung moral ko as a developer. Ganyan ang ginagawa ko para ano, para mukha tayong hacker. Okay, so there. Any more questions? So if you have more questions, feel free to comment para ano natin ma-address natin sila. Okay. So right now, let's continue to our final topic for today. It's going to be about virtual environments. So a virtual environment is like a mini version or mini Python ecosystem sa ating directory. So eto may meme dito na I don't use Python virtual environment, natatakot si kuya. Ayan. And it's kasi medyo delikado, but it's actually good kasi I mean this meme is about you trying to um parang risk a lot of projects kapag ka wala kang virtual environment. Ayan. So later on pakita ko siya sa inyo. Okay? So ayun, let me open my directory here. So pupuntahan ko yung aking folder. Update na ba 'yon? Tama dito. So every time na nag-i-install tayo ng Python, or not every time, but when we install Python, um, all of the all of that files, na supporting files, interpreter, tsaka yung mga DLL files, lahat yan nakalagay siya sa iisang directory lang. So, ayan. So in my case, this is saved in this directory, and these files are used to execute Python commands, store packages, and all that. Okay. In a virtual environment, we are creating a copy of this, pero not everything. So we are just taking out, or we are only taking the relevant ones para makapag-run tayo ng Python programs natin. Okay. So that's why it's called a mini ecosystem lang in Python. And it's important because it's helping us isolate dependencies. So as mentioned kanina, it could all kasi without using virtual environments in Python, this could lead you to affecting other projects that you have. For example, you have project 1, project A and project B. Si project A, ang kailangan niyang version is pandas 1, kunwari. Tapos si project B is pandas 2. Pandas 2. Okay. Or let's say 1.5 na lang. Okay. Kung si project A, in-install niya or in-upgrade niya si pandas to version 2, tapos wala silang virtual environment parehas, ang mangyayari nun is yung pandas version is ma-update for both servers. Since, again, we just have a single directory ng ating repository, ng ating Python installation files, right? So, ito yung scripts. Ito yung lib function. And we have here, let's say request. Wala pala dito. Pandas na lang. Sige. Let's look for pandas. Ayan. Open file. Ito. So, meron akong open folder. And yan. So, ito yung aking installation files ng pandas package natin. So, kapag yun nga, dalawang project, naka-reference dito parehas, pero iba yung dependencies nila na kailangan, kapag in-upgrade mo yung package sa kabilang project, apektado rin yung isa. So, na-experience ko rin kasi siya before. I have this API na dinevelop. Wala akong environment doon. what happened was, nag-update ako ng mga packages kasi kailangan ko for a specific analysis or project. At ayun, hindi na gumana yung API kasi may mga dependencies na hindi nag-update. So, ayun, that's something that you have to look into. So, always kapag ka may project kayo, create a virtual environment for that to isolate the dependencies of your project. Okay? And another importance is for us to ensure reproducibility. So, yun nga, kapag ka may kailangan kayong files or packages, usually naman sa virtual environments, ang worry lang natin dito is yung mga packages na ginagamit natin kay Python. So, so para we can always, or we can somehow replicate the structure of the project of one project, meron tayong pwedeng i-install na isang file lang, nandun na lahat. Nangangatilong ko, sorry. Ayan. Okay, so there. Let's now demo virtual environment naman. Okay? So, close ko tong mga to. Okay. So, this is this VS Code, tsaka ito yung project natin kanina. Sige, just to show you guys that I can also use other terminal, I'll just use command line na lang. Ay, command prompt rather. So, command prompt. Kasi ito yung usual na ginagamit ng mga tao sa Windows. Ayan. So, pupunta lang ako ng documents. Tapos, pupunta ako ng first project or first repo. Ayan. And if I click on there, ito yung mga files na ginawa natin, right? So, there. So, we can create a virtual environment in Python through this command line. So, I can run Python -m. Yung -m dito, ibig sabihin yan, we are running a module. And that module is called the vEnd module. So, the vEnd module will create the virtual environment for us. So, after this, I'll also add the name of the environment. So, it's env. That's the typical name of your virtual environments. But you guys are free to change it to whatever you like. Wala naman siyang kaso. So, kapag ni-run ko siya, what's gonna happen? In the back end, or parang in the background, we are creating some files dito. So, balikan natin siya. Saan na ba yung ating folder, documents? First repo. Ayan. So, tapos na siya mag-run. And if you can look at lakihan ko na lang siya. Ito yung folder natin. At yung ating environment na create is ito yung file na to. So, if we'll open this, there's 3 folders, include lib, tsaka scripts. So, yung scripts, pag-uusapan natin siya right now. Ayan. So, sa lib, meron tayo tinatawag ng activate files. Ito yung mga ginagamit natin to activate the environment. Si Python environment kasi, we have to activate it first before we use it. So, unlike sa ibang mga programming languages, they don't really have parang virtual environments, but they're just using the environment as the folder as an environment. Kasi automatically na dinedetect na yung mga dependencies doon. So, but yeah, that's a different story. But yun, kay Python, we have to activate the virtual environment. And to do that, we have activate scripts. So, punta ako muna kay VS Code. Ayan. So, kay VS Code, makikita natin dito that ito na nga, na-create natin siya. At sa left side natin, madaming nalagay sa ating changes. Ito yung mga files from the virtual environment. So, ayun. Of course, hindi natin i-commit tong mga changes na to. We want to ignore this folder para hindi natin siya ma-push to our GitHub repository. So, how do we do that? So, in our folder, gawa lang kayo ng file. Let's call it .gitignore. Ayan. So, yung gitignore na yan, pwede tayong mag-list down dito ng mga patterns or format para i-ignore siya ni Git repository natin. In our case, I want to ignore the env folder. To do that, gananin ko lang siya, env, tapos backslash. And save ko lang siya. At nawala na siya. Napapansin natin is naka-gray out na siya. And yung source control section natin dito, wala na siyang file. Yung git ignore na lang. Okay? So that's how we can ignore the files na ayaw natin i-push kay GitHub. Okay? Or ayaw din natin i-commit kay Git repository. All right. So balik ako sa folder. Oops. So again, meron tayo ditong script section. So we have these activate files. Merong activate na blank na na walang file extension. Merong activate.bat at activate.ps1. So itong activate na to is actually used for Unix-like systems. For example, kay Mac tsaka kay Linux. Ito yung ginagamit natin to activate the environment. Itong batch file, if you are using command prompt kay Windows, ito yung kailangan nating i-activate. For Windows 10, kapag PowerShell naman gamit mo, ito yung kailangan nating i-activate. So, yan yung medyo may purpose lang tayo kay virtual environment. So, we need to know kung ano yung command prompt or command interface natin, command line interface na ginagamit natin before we choose which activate file to use. Okay? So, clear ko to. I'm using command prompt. So, I can just simply do it like this. Environment scripts. Tapos, activate.bat or BAT or batch file. So, that's how we can activate our environment in command prompt. So, mapapansin nyo dito, yung pangalan ng environment natin, nandito na. Okay? Bukas ako ng PowerShell. Pakita ko lang din kung paano siya kapag kay PowerShell tayo. Okay? So, kay PowerShell, environment. Oops. Ay, sorry. Baliktad pala. Dapat pala ako dito lang. Yan. So, env scripts tapos activate.ps1 dapat tayo. Okay? Kasi kapag ginamit ko sige, gamitin natin si activate.bat lang. Walang nangyayari. Hindi siya hindi na a-activate yung ating virtual environment. So that's why we have to use the ps1 file. Ayan. So nag-activate na ang ating environment dito. Okay, so always look for this environment word or the name of your environment para malaman nyo na activated na yung ating environment. And if we want to deactivate our environment, deactivate lang siya. Yan, wala na siya. Okay? Okay, so there. So that's just us trying to activate and deactivate the virtual environment. Another thing that I want to discuss here is how we can go about with installation of the packages. If normally you would have a requirements.txt file, so create tayo. Requirements.txt file. Okay. Sa requirements.txt file in Python, this normally would have the list of the packages that we need for this project. Ang gagamitin natin for now in this demo is pandas muna para hindi ako mag-install ng mahaba. Ganyan. But later on, may activity kayo na i-share ko para gawin nyo siya on your own. Okay? So, ayan. Meron tayong pandas. So, pandas is our data manipulation package din kay Python. Actually, there's a lot of things that you can also do with pandas. You can also visualize. May mga shortcut notations siya doon para makapag-plot ka ng data. Okay, but for now, let's just install pandas here. And how do we install this package in our virtual environment? So let's look first at our lib folder. Ayan. So sa lib folder natin, meron lang tayong site packages. So what happens if we install this? Okay, so let's open a command prompt in VS Code for now. Okay, para makita natin yung mga changes. So I will activate the environment. Again, PS1 siya kasi naka-PowerShell ako. If it's command line or command prompt, I'll need to use the bat file. And if you are using Linux, ang gagawin nyo dyan is something like this. May source kayo dyan. Ganyan. It's not gonna work on Windows, but for you guys na Linux and Mac users, ganyan yung gagawin nyo. Okay? So, activate.ps1. Ayan, activated na siya. Katinang ilong ka, sorry. Ayan. So, how do we install now the requirements of text file? So, we need to run pip install. We will add, or we will use a parameter, -r. -r means that it's going to be a recursive installation. We will install a list of packages. So, that's gonna be requirements.text. So, kapag ka nagpasa kayo ng -r, ibig sabihin, you're expecting to have the requirements.text file. So, yan. Pwede ako maglagay dito ng marami. I can also add matplotlib, numpy, scikit-learn. Yan, maraming packages as long as kailangan ko siya. But for now, I'll just add pandas muna kasi mahaba yung installation na to. Or maybe let's use requests na lang. So request is the package that you use for sending API requests like get, post, and put. Yung mga ganong commands. Okay? Sige, para mas mabilis lang, request gamitin natin. Sige, dalawin na natin. Indecisive no? Okay. And requests and pandas. So if we save that and run this command, yan. So nagda-download na siya ng files. Okay, so yan. And let's try looking at the folder kanina. So yung lib folder natin. Okay, so wala siya nag-add. Okay. So nandito siya. Okay, good. So sa site packages natin makikita yung mga in-install nating packages. So here you can see that the files here are being added. So may mga files na dadagdag because we are installing some packages. Okay, so right now we have the pandas package here. Ano yan? Ayun, pandas, tsaka requests. Ayan. Although it's not yet done. Ayan, di pa siya tapos dito. But the folders have been created already in this folder. Okay. Ayan. There you go. So right now, if I clear this out, tapos if I open a Python terminal, okay, I can now import requests and I can now import pandas. Ayan, so may konting warning lang ako pero yeah, that's for next time i-fix natin yan. But yeah. Let's say hindi ko in-install is TensorFlow. Okay. So what if import natin siya TensorFlow? Ano mangyayari? So module not found. So wala tayong TensorFlow na package kasi hindi natin siya sinama sa requirements.txt file natin. So ayun. Always, yung mga ilalagay lang natin dito is yung mga packages na kailangan lang naman natin. So, there. Okay? So, exit ko na siya. And there you go. Okay. So, last thing that I want to show you guys is how we can push this to GitHub. Tapos, paano kaya natin siya ikukunin ulit from GitHub papunta naman sa local repository natin. Okay. So, I'll add these files. So, git add dot para ma-add ko sila ng sabay. Okay. So, naka-A na siya. So, git commit -m added requirements.txt file. sorry, bago natin gawin yan, baguhin natin yung ating readme.file. Instructions. So create a Python virtual environment. A virtual environment na lang. So maglalagay lang tayo ng konting steps para people can follow along. Okay? So Python env tapos clone, unahin natin yung clone this repository, create a virtual environment, install the packages. So pip install -r requirements.txt. Yeah, that's how your readme would normally look like. Okay. Oh shucks. Git add readme.file. Tapos git commit added requirements and updated readme. There you go. Na-commit natin changes, and let's now push the changes back to our GitHub repository. Ayan. Alright, so let's now refresh this. There you have it. So meron na tayong instructions. So we have clone this repository, create a virtual environment, tsaka install the packages. So there. One last step that we can do here is to try demoing how we can do it if you're someone who got into this repository tsaka gusto nyo yung i-replicate tong ginagawa niya. So dito pupunta ako kay documents ko. So gawa tayo ng third repository natin. Yan. So ang gagawin ko as someone who just got into this repository is sabi nga dito sa instructions, clone this repository. So how do we clone it? Ayan siya. Copy lang natin tong sh section natin and clone it. Using anong command? We will need to use the git clone command. Right? So change tayo to third directory. Okay. cd. Ba't wala? cd. Yan. So, git clone. Sorry, pakita ko na din siya kung paano ginagawa siya using git bash para sa mga hindi gumagamit ng VS Code at ng Windows, you can use git bash. Ayan. So, ko-clone natin siya. Copy ko tong yung folder para makapag-change ako to that directory. So, cd, paste. Ayan. Sorry. cd, paste. Ulit na. So, cd, paste. Lagyan ko siya ng quotes kasi may naka-backslash ako. Okay? Tapos, gagawin ko ay git clone. Kakopy ko to. Tapos, paste ko siya dito. Yan. Oops. May mali ako nagawa. Ayan. So, nagawa kong mali ay hindi ako nakapaglagay ng dot. Kaya ang nangyari is nag-create siya ng panibagong folder. Okay lang din naman. Pero ako gusto ko siyang kaya ako create kasi ng repository para doon na lang siya mag-jump. But that's fine. Okay. So, pasukin na lang natin siya. Alright? So, based dun sa instructions, again, hindi natin pinush yung ating environment file. But the readme file tells us to clone this repository. So, na-clone na natin siya. And how do we create the virtual environment? So, let's just use na lang this one. So, Python bn end para makapag-create tayo ng virtual environment. Might just take a while. Refresh natin siya. So, ayan. Meron na siya dito but it's not yet done on the console. Ayan, tapos na siya. And now, last step is to install the packages. So, pip install. Sorry. Deactivate pala muna dapat. So, mali yung instructions ko. Ayan. And scripts activate. Okay, so it might not work. Yeah, di nga siya nagwo-work. So bakit di siya nagwo-work? Kasi si Git Bash, ang language na sinusupport na to, not language, but the operating system that it supports is it's a Unix-based operating system. Kaya, so di pa siya gagana dito. Okay. So gagamitin na lang natin si command line. Okay, so medyo magulo lang. But, ba't nasa first rep? Okay, sige. CD, tapos, scripts, tapos, activate.batch file. Ayan, so na-activate na natin siya. And that's gonna be the time when we install the requirements.file. Again, we don't install the packages until we activate it. So, dapat mag-activate muna kayo ng environment bago natin siya i-install. Okay? So, I won't finish this one, but that's how we go about creating virtual environments, creating requirements.txt file, tsaka yung pag-i-install ng requirements.txt file. So I just want to highlight that we don't push the actual environment file, the environment folder to our GitHub repository. Mabigat yon, tsaka it might contain some sensitive information kasi you can even add environment variables. So more on that siguro next time na lang. But yeah, we don't just push these environment folder to our repository. There. So that's virtual environment, guys. So let me know if you have any questions. Pwede mo bang gamitin ang base64 and Notepad++ to GitHub? I'm not sure kay base64. Si Notepad++ is a text editor lang. So parang GitHub din siya pero wala kasi siyang console. Again, hindi naman, okay lang naman kahit hindi kayo VS Code. Gamitin niyo lang pinaka command line nyo or command prompt or si PowerShell. So available naman yung dalawang yun sa available naman siya sa laptops nyo naman kapag naka-Windows kayo. Sorry Josh Dev, hindi ko nasundan since I was away. Did you use pip command in installing other Python libraries? Yes. Nag-install ako ng pip. Okay. All right. So last thing that I want to discuss. But if you guys have any other questions, feel free to comment and feel free to message me. Okay lang naman yun. Pero last thing that I want to show you guys is the take-home activity. Ayan. Ito kasi yung pinaka-purpose ko kung bakit meron tayong live sessions na ganito, weekly. Okay, so in your own, well, right now, you guys will have to do some activity. Take-home activity to. Ayan. So, using the git commands, create your local repository. So, kagaya ng ginawa ko kanina. Okay. Tapos, create din kayo ng virtual environment in your repository. Create requirements.txt file with the following packages. So, there. At yung mga packages na gagamitin kasi natin sa next na session natin. 𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃, pandas, 𝗃𝗂𝗃𝗁2, sorry. Then add readme.md file with the instructions how to set virtual environment and so on. So, connect your device to your GitHub account, tsaka push your changes to your GitHub repository. So, yung ginawa ko kanina, gagawin nyo din siya. Alright? So, let me take a screenshot of this page. At post natin siya here para everyone can see. Ayaw mag-comment. Ayaw talaga. Sige. So for our take-home activity, ayaw talaga mag-paste. Damot naman. Sige. Ayan, so yan. For our take-home activity, ganyan siya. So ipopost na lang siya mamaya para makita nyo na din. But yeah, this is our take-home activity. And hindi nyo lang siya gagawin. Isasubmit nyo din siya. Okay? So for submission, join our Data Engineering Pilipinas Discord server. Tapos, i-share nyo yung GitHub profile nyo kay GitHub, pati yung Git repository sa GitHub channel. So here we have the repository. The server, the GitHub the Data Engineering Pilipinas server. At ito yung GitHub channel. Ayan. So post nyo dito yung profile nyo sa GitHub. Your profile. Itong link na to. Yan. Tapos yung repository na create nyo. Okay? Yung repository dapat may laman siya, which is this. Ayan. Kunwari lang. Okay? There. Ganyan lang. I-send mo nyo lang siya ng ganyan para you guys can, collaborate and follow each other. Kasi pwede kayo mag-follow kay GitHub eh. So, ayan. Follow nyo lang siya. Tsaka star na lang kayo na nakikita nyo magandang repository. Okay, and after that, hindi pa tayo dyan nagtatapos. So, after you post your GitHub profile sa Discord server natin, you're also going to post on your LinkedIn profile. Ayan, that you have started this project, this weekly exercise of building end-to-end data project. So, share nyo lang siya, starting point. Then afterwards, magbe-build naman, magkakaroon naman siya ng laman. So, don't you worry about that. Tapos, gamitin nyo yung hashtags to. So, the reason why I'm asking you to do this, especially this step, kasi I want you guys to be connected to potential recruiters. So, kailangan lang natin parang i-expose yung sarili natin para mas, makakuha tayo ng mga potential na magiging interested sa ating profile. Okay? So, yan. Gamitin yung hashtags na to para mas maganda yung reach. You may also add more hashtags para mas maganda yung reach natin. So, that's just it. So right now, we're done with the version control and virtual environments. Ito yung mga upcoming sessions natin. Next, in 2 weeks' time, gagawa na tayo ng Python script that extracts data from an online repository. Tapos, i-download natin siya papuntang FTP server. So this is gonna be the first parang hands-on exercise on coding in Python naman. Alright? So we are creating an extract program in Python. Okay, so marami pa tayong events. So it's a good start. We're done with the first 2 sessions. So I hope to see you guys in the following weeks. So Feb 24, punta kayo. So thank you guys for being here with me. Tapos, ayun. So medyo magulo lang yung ating mga installations, but it's, that's just some initial steps that you can take para mas masanay din tayo sa paggamit ng Git and GitHub tsaka ng virtual environments. So if may mga katanungan kayo, feel free to ask question lang. And yun, message lang kapag may tanong din kayo. So si 𝗬𝘂𝗶 may ina-add lang siya. So after executing the git add command, always take a habit of executing git status. Nice. Yan. Para makikita ba yung naka-stage natin na files. Para iwas mali din. Alright, thanks for adding 𝗬𝘂𝗶. Yeah, hindi ko na na-mention the git status, but yeah. Para makita natin yung mga files na naka-stage for us or change. Thanks, Sir JP. Diyan ka pa rin pala. Salamat. So yan, if may mga katanungan kayo, just comment or you are free to send me a message. Connect din tayo sa LinkedIn para we can connect. Ayan, thanks Botany, thanks 𝗬𝘂𝗶. Ayan, so Botany, review mo na lang tong yung recording para you can look to that step na kung saan ka nawala. Yes, Dave, pwede mo siyang i-review. I'll also post this on YouTube. Tsaka nasa Facebook din naman siya. Ayun.